Hey everybody, I'm Jack Reed with Future Pastimes. I'm one of the designers on the Ixians and Tleilaxu expansion for the classic Dune board game, the 2019 edition from Gale Force 9. In this video, I'm going to talk about some fun facts about the Ixian faction that some players may not know or realize. And part of it stems from we definitely could have done a better job of writing out how these advantages work. But that's what this video is here to helpfully clear up. So we're going to start off with free revival. So you get a free revival of one of your forces. It can be a Suboid or it can be a cyborg. But let's say you did revive a cyborg. You can pay to revive more cyborgs. Now they're starred forces, and other starred forces in the game, the Fedaykin and the Sardaukar, those factions are limited to one of those forces in revival, whether they revive it for free or pay for it. But that restriction does not include the Ixians, so they can revive 3 cyborgs every turn. But paying for the cyborgs costs more. It costs 3 spice, not just 2 spice, to revive the cyborg. So the 2 spice is for the organic stuff, and then the 1 extra spice is for all of the mechanical gear. The next thing we're going to talk about is the start of game advantage that the Ixians have. So it says here, before treachery cards are dealt, draw 1 card for each faction in the game. You're going to choose one of those to keep, shuffling the remaining cards and dealing 1 to each of the other players. Now, that's the general rule for this, but it should be noted that Harkonnen do not escape this start of game advantage when it comes to their second treachery card. Now, normally when the Harkonnens, when they buy a treachery card, they get another one off the top of the deck. But their setup for the Harkonnen is not after everybody is dealt their cards, then draw another one. They're just dealt 2 at the beginning. So that does factor into the Ixian start of game advantage. So it says 1 per faction because that's the general rule. But when it comes to games like Dune, especially Future Pastimes games, you've got the general rules, and then you have variable player powers or other elements that will break those rules or bend them in some way. So this is the general rule as it applies to factions, but because the Harkonnen bend that rule, the Ixians account for it. So that's how it should be played. If you're in a 6-player game with the Ixians and the Harkonnen, then the Ixians are going to draw 7 cards, and they're going to pick 1, and then they're going to deal the rest of those out randomly, and they'll deal 2 to the Harkonnen. The bidding advantage, that one I think we got right. It's pretty straightforward, so we're going to skip right over there. We did talk about reviving the cyborgs, so remember that they have a movement of 2 territories as their base movement, and that can include a mix of forces that have cyborgs and suboids. So as a group, they all will move 2, as long as there's at least 1 cyborg in that group. Now, if the Ixians have ornithopters, then all of their movement is 3 and not 2. The other thing is that it says that they can carry 3 spice. That really should be collect. They collect 3 spice. Each cyborg itself will collect 3 spice. And then, of course, if you have ornithopters, then all of the forces will collect 3 spice. The suboids will collect 2 spice. So you do have to do the math a little bit. If you have a mixed group in a spice territory in the spice collection phase, you say there's 10 spice there, and you've got 2 cyborgs and 2 suboids. Well, the cyborgs will get 6 of it, and the suboids will get the other 4. So those 4 forces can get all 10 of that spice. The suboid advantage, they're only worth half strength in battles, and that's basic and advanced. But the real strength of the suboids is their ability to absorb the losses. So I'll just kind of cover that just to make sure people understand how it works. So if you're dialing, you have cyborgs and suboids in that battle, you want to definitely dial the cyborgs, or feel like you can, but try not to dial all of the suboids, because if you do win that battle, for each suboid that was left over, you can send it to the tanks and not send 1 cyborg that you would have had to send. So because the cyborgs are double strength, it's a great way to say, yeah, I'm going to dial a 2 for this cyborg, and then I've got a suboid in there, and when I win the battle, I keep the cyborg in the territory. I send the Suboid because they're cheaper to revive. So that's the real strength of that. Flipping to the opposite side of the faction sheet, the hidden mobile stronghold, we're just going to cover this. I've talked about it in other videos. We do have the word sector on here as we're describing things, but the hidden mobile stronghold itself does need to be in the territory and sector where the spice is when it moves in order to make sure that it does collect that spice. And the way that I remember the order of operations in terms of when does the hidden mobile stronghold get to move, in the first turn, it is after the storm movement. But then on subsequent turns, it's before the storm moves. So I just go A, B, A for the first turn, B for all the rest of them. That's how I make it work. A for after, B for before. Go in alphabetical order, and you should be good. Remember, you can't have the hidden mobile stronghold go, out of this territory, back in and out again, and collect multiple times for one territory. It's one territory each time, whether you are starting in there, moving through it, entering, whatever the case may be. So it's one collection per territory. The other thing, again, and I've mentioned this before, is that it's not like that movie with the Mortal Engines where the whole cities are just rolling. It's not a giant Roomba. It's more like a MASH, a Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. It is a stronghold that can be disassembled, packed, and then transported, and then unpacked and set up. It's really kind of what we were going for. Although during the development, the idea was floated that the hidden mobile stronghold itself also floated, and it was blown by the storm, and it would just keep moving ahead by the storm. But after a fairly short conversation, we said no. Or some of us said no. Some of us said yes. I said no. Others agreed, and we ultimately did not go with that. It's give the Ixians a little more control. And remember, only the Ixian faction can move that hidden mobile stronghold. If another faction does take over the stronghold, it is stuck where it last was, and that's it. The technology advantage for the Ixians in advanced is pretty handy, because what they can do is they can buy a card, and then when they see that the card that they just bought is not a good card, or one that they don't really want, as soon as the next card is ready to be up for bid, they can just say, I'm using my technology advantage, I'm taking that card, and the one that I just bought is now going back up for sale. Now, it doesn't have to be the one that they just bought, but that's a great way to, course correct for yourself. Because again, they're going to know what cards are part of that auction because of their bidding advantage. So they may look in there and they say, all right, there's one worthless card, but everything else is pretty good. So I can take my chances. I can buy any card, but they're going to want to make sure they get one of the earlier cards and not buy the last card. Otherwise, they're stuck with that worthless card until the next auction. But if they buy one of the first few cards, and they do get that worthless card, they can unload it and put it up for auction and take something else. So it's a nice way to game the system a little bit. But that was by design. The Ixians are masters of their own technology, and we equate the treachery cards with that sort of thing, that technology. So yes, and then the last thing, a Suboid strength is the other advantage in advanced, is the Suboids are always considered half strength for dialing, but it does say you cannot increase the advantages, but still people are like, another half, but can I spend spice to count them as full? And the answer is no. They're always half. No amount of spice is going to make them any stronger than they are. So that's it. The last thing I will mention is the special Karama advantage. That is, it lets the Ixians move the hidden mobile stronghold during the shipping and movement phase on their turn. But this does not count as their movement. It does not count as their shipment. It's just an extra thing that they can do. So they could move the hidden mobile stronghold and presumably collect some spice. And they can do it after they ship into it, and then they can do their movement. They can say, all right, now we're leaving the hidden mobile stronghold to get to another territory. That's all perfectly copacetic. So Yes, they can do that, and that is fun facts about the Ixian faction for Dune, some of which maybe you knew or figured out or learned. Some maybe you didn't. Played with some longtime players just yesterday, and they did not know that the Harkonnen's second card is part of that start of game advantage, but it is. So that's how you should be playing it. And if you don't want to, that's fine, but now it's a house rule. So that's it for this one. If you have any other questions about the Ixians, don't hesitate to ask. And I will continue to do some fun fact videos and some FAQ videos just to keep people on their toes and playing Dune the way it was intended to be played, at least at any given moment in time. So that's it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.